Hey guys, it's another PragerU stream. This time let's go with our home video, Our Father's Necessary. This ought to be fun.
Are fathers necessary? For all of recorded history, the need to explain why fathers are necessary would have been regarded as, well, unnecessary. It would have been like explaining why water or air is necessary. But we live at a time in which the obvious is routinely denied. There have been articles in the most prestigious journals denying the importance of fathers. The Atlantic magazine, for example, published an article titled, "Are Fathers Necessary? A Paternal Contribution May Not Be as Essential."
Let's look that up. Necessary. Atlantic. None of this would seem particularly controversial. So they're talking about examples of people being good fathers. Being examples of success. There's only one problem. None of this is proven. In the February issue of the Journal of Marriage and Family, Judith Stacy, a professor of sociology at New York University, and Timothy Biblars, a demographer from the University of Southern California, consolidated the available data on the role of gender in child rearing. As Stacy and Biblars pointed out, our ideas of what dads do and provide are based primarily on contrasts between married couple parents and single female parents, an apples to oranges exercise that conflates gender, sexual orientation, marital status, and biogenic relationships in ways that a true comparison of parent gender, one that compared married gay couples or married lesbian couples to married heterosexuals or single fathers to single mothers, would not. Exactly. If you're in a two-parent household, you're going to do far better than if you're in a single-parent household. You don't necessarily need a father for that. From the data that I've seen, gay couples actually tend to do better because they have to adopt, and that is far more of a choice than regularly having a kid, whereas two people might have sex and, oh, looks like we're going to be a mom and dad now, and then the father leaves, and that is an issue when you're a single mother trying to raise a child.
As we think. The New York Times published a discussion among 5 intellectuals titled, "What Are Fathers For?" One of them, Hannah Rosen, an editor at New York Magazine, opened her response by stating, "I'm not sure whether a child needs a father." I could give dozens of such examples. I'll just give one more. HuffPost published a piece titled, "Fathers Are Not Needed." Fortunately, this dismissal of the importance of fathers is not universal. In a 2008 Father's Day speech a few months before his election as President of the United States, Barack Obama said, "Fathers are critical to the foundation of each family. That they are teachers and coaches, they are mentors and role models, they are examples of success, and they are the men who constantly push us toward it."
I think this might be the example that the Atlantic cited. The thing is, Obama didn't come out supporting gay marriage until after he was elected, I'm pretty sure. So he's a very good rhetorician, and boy, does he have a lot of charisma. But I wouldn't cite him as any example for having a good foundation in one's beliefs.
What makes his comments particularly noteworthy is that Barack Obama grew up without a father. Both boys and girls need fathers. We'll begin with boys. A boy has no built-in understanding about how to be a man, meaning a good and responsible man. Male nature is wild, most obviously regarding sex and violence. If a boy...
This is completely subjective and unsubstantiated. He has absolutely zero evidence to back this up from in terms of the field of sociology. This is something that we accept, and we have accepted as a society for 100 years, hundreds of years, but it doesn't make it inherently true. Yeah, boys tend to be more violent and wild, and part of that is because of testosterone, but a lot of that is because of the way we're socialized. Is there any reason that boys should be rewarded for being promiscuous and women should not? Not inherently. By all accounts, there doesn't seem to be a huge variance in the sex drive between men and women. Of course, you talk to any conservative, they'll disagree with you because they tend to be kind of bad at sex.
Does not have a father who models how a man controls himself, he will most likely not know how to control himself, let alone want to. That's why most males in prison for violent crimes grew up without a father.
He's not indicating an important part of that statistic that most males in prison grew up without a father. They grew up in a single-parent household. That's the difference. And that's what makes the difference. When you're a single parent trying to raise a child, it's impossible to raise a child perfectly with two parents, let alone one parent.
Days of riots in the UK in 2011, quite like the 2020 riots in America, Christina Adone wrote a column for the London Telegraph, whose title says it all. London riots, absent fathers have a lot to answer for. In the column, she wrote, the majority of rioters are gang members. Like the overwhelming majority of youth offenders behind bars, these gang members have one thing.
I'm curious about the London Telegraph. London Telegraph. Media bias. I don't doubt it's a reputable source, but I'm having a feeling that it's... What did he say? The Telegraph. Oh, it's just... Okay. The Daily Telegraph, UK. That's probably it. Oh, they're less factual than I expected. So, in addition to the fact that that was probably an opinion piece, it doesn't carry a lot of reputability.
Absent fathers have a lot to answer for. There's no question that many mothers have done an excellent job raising a boy without their son's father. But common sense alone suggests that a mother simply cannot model what a boy should be any more than a man can model to a girl what a woman should be. And then there is the issue of controlling boys and their wives.
I mean, you're making the assumption that men and women have to conform to certain roles. And to an extent, if you want to move forward in society, we unfortunately have to. But there's no reason our society should be structured that way. That is a problem in the structure of our society. And the fact that you're saying we should make sure there's always a father present without acknowledging this issue with society is, well, you're remiss in that aspect. I wonder if he'll criticize same-sex couples, but that might be too controversial for PragerU. They've gone pretty mask off in the past, but maybe not in this video.
Wild natures. Again, there are mothers who are able to do this. But if a boy is at all difficult, as so many are, as he gets older, most mothers will find it more and more difficult to control their son. Because unruly boys listen to their fathers much more than they listen to their mothers.
Again, I could believe that, but I think that has more to do with society valuing men more than women. And this would probably be more true in more conservative communities and far less true in far more progressive communities.
Which is precisely why most violent criminals grew up in fatherless homes. They obviously did not listen to their mothers. As regards daughters, the father is the man girls learn to relate to. Without a father to relate to and bond with, there are at least two destructive consequences. First, she will not know how to choose a man wisely.
This is such an enormous assumption. What makes you think that only a father can teach a woman how to choose his daughter to choose a man wisely? Why the fuck can't a woman do that? What the hell?
She will not know how a man should treat her, and she may well end up with a man who mistreats her. Second, to fulfill her desire to bond with a man, as primally yearning in most women as bonding with a woman is in most men, she will go from man to man. Girls without fathers in their lives are far more likely to be sexually promiscuous.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with being sexually promiscuous as long as you get fulfillment out of it.
And to begin sexual activity at an earlier age, which in turn are reasons many young women are depressed.
So, many young women and men who go from partner to partner are depressed. But there is one difference. Our society allows the man to turn around and say, yeah, I'm quite the conquester. I can fuck all these women. You can tell I'm not speaking from experience. But that makes a big difference between how depressed a man and a woman who are very sexually promiscuous can be. In the case of a woman, it would be far closer to a bad habit, like excessive drinking. Whereas with a man, he can write it off as not toxic. And I noticed that Dennis Prager hasn't criticized men for being promiscuous. We'll see if he does, but I tend to doubt it.
Few women find sleeping with man after man fulfilling. Most find it ultimately depressing. Finally, fathers give both sons and daughters the thing children need most: a sense of safety and security. As much as children need love, they need a sense of security even more.
And it's a good thing that mothers can provide that, as much as you've implied they can't here.
And in general, moms give love and dads give security. I learned how necessary fathers are, not only by having one and being one, but by the many people, men and women of all ages, who have told me that they see me as a father figure. I am honored to fill that role. The good news is that many men can fill it. Grandfathers, uncles, teachers, mentors, clergy, and yes, even a man on the radio.
And women can fill it too, as long as you're not too close-minded.
But some man has to be your father. I'm Dennis Prager.
This video was made possible by a generous donation from the Coutinho family.
Thank you for watching this video.
So, I'm not really sure what to say to that. He relies on arguments that rely on common sense, as he alluded to in this video. So there's not much I can say to debunk that. It's just an argument that relies on his own personal feelings and what we have done throughout history for the past several hundred years, which can be a hard monolith to overcome, but it doesn't mean that such traditions are inherently right. I wouldn't say they're inherently wrong either. The nuclear family isn't necessarily a bad thing, but we treat it like far more of a monolith than it should be, especially considering that our conception of the nuclear family is far more recent than many would like to believe. It started in the 1950s, and it was especially exacerbated with the Cold War and us trying to fight the damn commies. So, just try to keep a bit more of an open mind about issues like these, if you really agree with this video, I should say. With that, I'll see you next week.